Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo's Podcast Network. Also now available on YouTube on our channel, Dynamo Podcast Network. Pop over there, smash that subscribe button and bell notification. Give it a like and a share and support, and so we can try and grow this community. Joining me today on a very special episode, I have my partner in crime, Peter Hart from the Superior Comic Show, and from Peter Hart Graphics, the sponsor of the show. And also joining us today is friend of the show, Mark Hogan, a man who has many irons in the fire, a referee, a trophy business, a father, all that sort of good stuff. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm good, lads. Thanks for having me on. Thanks
Excellent.
again.
Brilliant to have you on there. Absolutely. So today we're going to have a chat about all things refereeing, really.
Keep your cards in your pocket.
Yeah. Also, no sending offs on this show. Yeah. And also have a good chat, obviously, about the trophy business you have there and how that's going and stuff like that. And then finish off, have a little, we'd be dismissive if we didn't have a quick chat about Man United at the end as well, being a big Man United fan. So we'll have a chat about that. So to kick it off, I suppose, tell us a little bit about the refereeing and how you got started and what happened.
Basically about 7 or 8 years ago, was playing football. Got a bit of a bad back injury, but still wanted to stay involved, but I couldn't play to the level that I wanted to play at. And my friend Keith Byrne, who was refereeing at the time, he kept saying it to me, "Why don't you do the course? Do the course." So I went to the FEI and done the 2-day referee course, and I've been doing it ever since. So I've been really enjoying it.
Excellent. And what would be a typical weekend for you in terms of refereeing now?
Well, I'm kind of with the kids and all at the moment. I'm kind of doing less games, and obviously with the COVID. But when I first started off, you do a few of the small sided games. So you do 2 or 3 games of a Saturday, 2 or 3 games of a Sunday. And then when the summertime kicked in, the evening games, you do a match on the way home from work in a local club somewhere, like Lucan United or Esker Celtic or something like that,
Yeah.
And then obviously you start off at a lower grade, but the longer you're doing it, you move up a grade. So you get the likes of the under 17 and 18 Premier games and stuff like that, which are a bit more competitive than the small sided games.
Yeah, and those 2 or 3 games you do, say, on a Saturday or a Sunday, would they be kind of back to back, or would they be spaced out? Or
yeah, to be back to back. It's funny because you see yourself down 11 o'clock kickoff, for a 25-minute each way game, and the next game is at 12 o'clock, but it never works out that way. The next game probably won't start till about 12 if you're doing a small sided game, But generally, they give you a straight back to back games,
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. So tell us then, in terms of the referee course, what's entailed in that when you go in first to the FAI?
Yeah, so basically it's a 2-day course. They were doing it out in the Oscar Trainer at the time when I was doing it. It's all done in Abbottstown now. But you basically go in, you learn the laws of the game over the 2 days. You kind of on the second day you get to go out. First day you're sitting taking down a lot of notes, reading a few of the laws. Then the second day they bring you out onto the field of play, and you go around, and they do scenarios where, say, you have a corner kick. What position are you going to be in for the corner kick on the right-hand side and the left-hand side and stuff like that, And then they do simple things like get you in the middle of the pitch and blow your whistle, because some people aren't confident even blowing a whistle, that's the way. It's interesting. Like I said, you learn like mad laws that you never even knew existed, Like there was one that little quirky one stuck with me. You can never score a known goal from a direct free kick. So say if you have a direct free kick, you play it out, the wind or something gets it and it goes in, it doesn't count as an OG because you're not gaining an advantage. It's given the opposition team's given a corner kick. One of the other ones I learned as well, which I've never seen anyone do, and I'd do it if I had the chance. For a penalty, how everyone's outside the 18-yard box or the penalty areas, as we call it. You can actually stand at the side of the penalty area, but you have to be in line or behind the penalty spot. So that's what I was saying. I tried that one time, stand at the side and kind of see, a little bit of intimidation to try put the penalty kicker off,
Well, it actually, standing at the side actually kind of makes sense as well, because typically if you save a penalty, you're going to palm it to the left or the right
Yeah,
anyway for the follow-up.
exactly,
So, yeah,
exactly. So,
that's an interesting one. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
one
on.
now. That's one I didn't know. Now that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, it's something you can
I had
actually
no clue
do.
of that.
It's in the laws of the game. You're allowed to stand at the edge or the side of the penalty area, in line or behind the. Obviously, can't be ahead of the penalty spot. So it's one that I've never seen done, but it's definitely one I do myself. I've had the chance. Like,
Yeah, seems to make sense. All right, Peter. Any
yeah.
questions? Want to jump in?
I'm just taking it all in, that rule, and thinking about it now. Like, the amount of chances I had to use that as an intimidation tactic.
That's it, man.
But even as a follow-up from a save, like, it makes total sense, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah,
as opposed to running from the top of the box, like.
Yeah, like you said, Niall. If the keeper's going to save it, he's going to palm it to the left or the right. He's not going to kind of try palm it back into where all the players are running in down the center. You know.
Yeah. Now, is there any rules in there that are enforced in terms of being different to the professional level? Anything that comes to mind or jumps to mind that would be
like even like we're always told in the referees course, you know, you have to enforce the laws of the game no matter what age group. Like, you know, I've been out in different places, like, you know, of a Saturday, Sunday morning doing, say, when I was starting off doing an under 11s and 12s game, and sometimes you just have to use a bit of common sense, you know, that took away. Like, I remember I was out in like Castleknock, I think it was, under 12s, and they were getting beaten 3 or 4-0, and it was about 2 or 3 minutes to go. And one of the defenders punched the ball over the bar, and obviously I get a penalty, but the laws of the game say you have to send them off. But the team's getting beaten 3-0, 3 or 4-0. It's 2 minutes left. He's a little 12-year-old. I'm not going to send him off. You know, you have to take a bit of common sense with it. You know, but obviously if there was an assessor, an FAI assessor out watching me, or you know, I'd have to do it. But sometimes you just have to, like I said, just use your noggin, you know.
Especially because with kids, a red card at that young of an age can just completely spoil the game for you and ruin your confidence completely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember my own young lad Ben. He plays in goals, and I remember he got sent off. He ran out to save a ball, and he handled the ball outside the area, and he got a straight red. And they take it fairly serious as well. It goes before the board and all, and you have to pay the fine, isn't there? Like a 25 or a 30 euro fine or something for that. That has to be paid and everything. Yeah, it's proper serious. Like, but I remember he was absolutely devastated because like he had let the team down and all. You know what I mean? So like it was a big deal. But it was just like it was hilarious to hear about it at the same time. You know what I mean?
That's it. Like I said, but like a lot of Premier League referees have to go by the exact laws of the game, you know, each game. But when you're out, like I said, when you're out there in Castleknock, Greystones, wherever it may be, you have to use your head. You have to use a bit of common sense at times. You know, we're not professionals like them over in England or whatever. You know, you just have to use your noggin.
Yeah, and obviously with the younger kids, you're trying to encourage them to enjoy the game and play it in the spirit of the game as well. So you don't want to be putting the hammer in all the time, but you want to keep it under a decent bit of control. Like
exactly, and like Peter said, you know, if you send a little lad off, his confidence goes. You know, that's him. He's thinking about that for next week or two. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and he feels he's let because a lot of their teammates are their schoolmates as well. So he's going to school on Monday morning after being sent off and stuff like that. You know, it's all that you have to think of as well.
I remember Ben the following week got a fierce slagging over it. You know, he got tore into like, but he took it in good humor, you know, that kind of way. So tell us this then, after matches, what's the follow-up? I mean, is there administration that has to be done or anything like that, or what way does that work?
Yeah, basically, obviously you get your match cards from the DDSL or whatever league you represent. You obviously get them filled out before the games. If there's if there's a red card incident, we get red card reports, report forms that we have to fill out and send to the DDSL. They're based out in the FEI and Abbottstown there, so you have to do all that and send them all off, you know.
Okay. And would you have to do like a mini match report or anything like that, or is it only if there's incidents?
Yeah, basically only if there's incidents. So yeah, you just basically fill out if there's any yellow or red cards, and if there's not, you just send in what score it was, so they can obviously balance out the league tables and stuff like that as well. You know.
And if you get a red card incident and you have to report that, would that have to be would you get something signed there by each of the managers or anything like that? Is it just for paperwork and admin, or is it something that would come up then if there's a fine or something like that, or I'm sure there isn't a hearing or anything like that, but you know what I mean. Like,
well, the only time you get a hearing if the team that have a player sent off are trying to appeal it, you know.
Okay.
You basically the DDSL or who, like I said, whatever league is involved will ask you for your account of things, and they get it from them, and then there's usually a 2 or 3 man panel that will decide whether to uphold the red card or not, you know.
Yeah, so I suppose, like in summing up, even at a very junior level, it's still a very sort of senior position in terms of the match and stuff like that, and in terms of controlling the match and in terms of enforcing the rules of the game.
Yeah, definitely. There's, you know, like I said, it doesn't matter what age group it is. It could be anything from under 11s to under 19s. Like you're the man in the middle, and you know the buck stops with you. You know, and you're in charge of their health and safety on the field of play as well. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Like I've had times where lads have broken their arms and stuff on the pitch. You know, and you just you have to call the game off, wait on the ambulance, do whatever you can. You know.
Yeah, we had the same in a match down here where a lad popped his knee. And they had to stop the game and all, and we looked after him and covered him up, did all the thing we were supposed to do till the ambulance arrived. But the ref was brilliant as well and encouraging us, and he was brilliant encouraging the player and everything.
What's going on there? I tore me bleeding ACL in Wexford. They just moved me off the pitch and kept playing. Was left to the ambulance on my own.
They do it different down the country, you know.
No, they must have seen the Liverpool jersey hanging out your back.
That's it. Bring me at the back and put me down with all the back.
What's the figure you were hard, lad?
That's it. But and in fairness, like I was down in league slip on the AstroTurf down there, refereeing under I think it was under 13s and 14s. But the sleet and snow started coming down, it was pelting down. And we were about 10 minutes into the second half, and I called a halt to it and get the lads in the changing room. And one of the opposition parents was saying, "Oh, we're after travelling from halfway across Dublin," and I said, "I'd have to think about the kids, you know. The lads could get bleeding flus and colds and pneumonia and all this, and I'm the one in charge, you know."
But even on the Astro, it's so easy to slip and get an injury and all, and the ground is kind of solid as well, you know what I mean? Especially if there's sleet and snow on it, you know.
Yeah.
So in terms of looking then, moving into sort of the professional refereeing, I mean, what's your feeling on the standard of refereeing, say, in the Premiership at the moment?
It's kind of it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You know, you might get 1 or 2 decent refs. Like Mike Oliver, I thought when he came in, he was a fantastic young ref coming up and stuff like that. But it's like everything, they're only human. He's going to make mistakes in games. Obviously not now with VAR and stuff like that, you know. But there is certain referees you look at and think, obviously Mike Dean is one. He kind of he's more into himself than he is the actual game. I think, you know, that's a way which you don't want to see. Clattenburg was the same as well. He was just all about himself, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the referees these days. You don't have those strong referees that we used to have, you know, like the David Ellerys and you know the pair Luigi Colinas, and you know who, like, there was no nonsense with them, and players knew not to kind of answer the back or try it on with them because they knew they weren't going to get any joy. There's a lot of that sort of element has gone out of the game, really, hasn't it? Like referees seem to be just that sort of, you know, 23rd man on the pitch, really, that just is there, really, you know, as opposed to having that proper presence on the pitch that those old referees used to have.
Yeah, no, you're right, 100%, and I think a lot has to do with as well. You don't see enough players getting booked for dissent, you know, for coming up and screaming on the referee's face. You know, that's the way. If I was out there, I wouldn't mind. I'd be booking players coming up. You have to enforce your authority. You know, not a lot of lads are doing it. That game recently, was it the Burnley game where Sean Dyche went over to the referee after, you know, the Leeds game? Yeah, he blew too early, but I think it's only his 2nd or 3rd game in the Premier League, you know. His confidence be shot now after that, you know. But you're right, you don't get them. Like Dermot Gallagher is one as well, for instance. He was a very strong referee. Actually, interesting fact, do you know where he's from now?
No, go on.
He's originally from Ringsend.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So only down the road from Pearse Street. So Dermot Gallagher, he's officially an Irish referee.
Yeah. Now we know why he was so hard.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So just looking at, I suppose we should definitely move on and have a chat about VAR.
No, can I just ask?
Mark, go ahead, Peter.
Just the question we brought up on the show a few weeks now, and I want to get your opinion on it. What's your opinion on managers in the Premier League getting fined for criticising the ref or his performance after a match? Do you think they're too protected, or should they be protected at that point where a manager can't voice his grievances after the game?
See, it's a tough one, you know. Like I said, for that Sean Dyche incident, for one, like it should have been kept kind of in the vicinity of the referee's room out the back, and he should have aired his grievances there and then, not go on the pitch and kind of make a spectacle of himself. You know, that's a way. I understand it is frustrating. Games are won and lost by referees' decisions, but I think some of the criticism is unjust. You know, you can't. As a manager, I think interviewing them straight after it and asking about referee, because their emotions are high straight after a game, you know, win, lose or draw, and they're going to say something that probably shouldn't be said. You know, that's a way.
Yeah, it's nearly like as if they should take a little bit of time to digest it, really, and then, as you said, go and visit the ref in the room and have a proper chat about it. Because more often than not, they normally come out from those incidents, and they realise that, like, yeah, the ref was probably right or something like that, or I mean, obviously,
like,
yeah, obviously, if you're like a smaller club like a Burnley or something like that, you have a lot riding on it in terms of relegation and stuff like that. So you're obviously fired up after a match when you don't get a decision or get what you wanted and stuff like that. So I suppose it's slightly different, you know. But yeah,
no,
go ahead, Mark.
100%. No, 100%. Well, I was going to say, even at amateur level, we have it. Like, if I'm not going to make on the field of play, I'm not going to make every decision a right decision. I'm human. I make mistakes. It's in my opinion. That's what I seen in front of me. You know, I've lads that have the flag on the sideline. Oh, he's offside. They have a better angle standing at the side of the pitch than I do to see an offside. I can only see what's in front of me. I can only judge what I see. I am going to make mistakes, but that's part and parcel of the game. And I know Premier League referees, you know, they should be making the right decisions with their assistants and all the technology they have nowadays. But sometimes they make mistakes. They're only human, you know.
Yeah. So what's kind of like what's your feeling at the moment on VAR? I mean, are you all in on VAR? Do you not really like VAR, or you know, is it good for the game? Is it bad for the game? What do you think?
Like I was saying, myself and Peter had a little chat there last night. You know, before it was introduced, we all wanted it. We all said, "I'll get it in." We've seen how well it kind of worked in rugby and cricket and a few other sports. Especially, like I said, if a decision goes against your team, you're like, oh, for VAR. But since it's been introduced, I just think it's taken a bit of the passion away from the game, to be honest with you. You know, like, for instance, I'm a United fan, you're a Liverpool fan. If De Gea or Alisson save a penalty, you're waiting to see, was his foot off the line before you can actually celebrate, you know, that type of way. Yeah. Or if there's a goal scored, it's the same. You're waiting, where your emotion, you just want to jump and celebrate, but you actually have to wait a few minutes to find out what the situation with the VAR, you know. It's the same with the offsides, you know. Like Peter was saying to me, like, your armpit, your toenail is offside, and that's it. It's no goal, you know. It just takes away from a lot, I think.
It's so hard now to celebrate a goal, isn't it? Unless you know yourself clear cut it's a goal, you know, like a shot from distance or something like that. But like that whole like jumping out of your chair as a fan, like for a fan, and it's weird because fans were crying out for this, saying this needs to be sorted out with some of these crazy decisions. And now that we got it, it's like, get rid of it. We don't want it anymore now. We actually miss it. Even if some of the decisions end up wrong, we tend to believe over the course of a season that the table evens itself out and that the luck evens itself out. And you know, if we truly believe that, then what did we want VAR in the first place?
You're 100%.
It's just a killer, you know.
But you look at the Aston Villa one, the Paul Pogba incident there last week, and you know, Villa got the rub of the green against Sheffield United with the VAR system last year, you know, and they're complaining about it a few weeks ago with the penalty decision.
Yeah. And that was the rub of the green that kept them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just shows you, you know.
Yeah, again, Liverpool screwed by VAR, because, you know, VAR had to fix that and put Villa down. We wouldn't have beaten 7-2 earlier in the season.
You keep thinking that, Peter. You keep thinking that.
That's actually a very good point, Peter. I like that. So yeah, then I suppose then, in summing up, I suppose from a fan point of view, we kind of don't like it. From a referee point of view, you're probably okay with it because you have it as an an add-on to use if needed.
Yeah.
Go on, yeah.
Oh, sorry, cuz what I was going to say is what I would like to see is the referees using the pitch side monitors a lot more, because
Yeah,
you know
100%.
it shows a referee can change his mind and admit that he made a wrong decision. You know, instead of someone up in the VAR gallery making the decision for him, let him go over. Like I said, we can blow too early or we can make mistakes, but if you can turn it around and say, right, I've made a mistake, it's not what happened, or reverse that decision, that's what I'd like to see, instead of, you know, people waiting on the, like I said, the people in the gallery to make the decisions for them, you know.
Is there a lot
Yeah,
of
100%.
speaking of that? Is there a lot of ego? Do you think in the Premier League referees that a lot of them, even if they know they're wrong now, they're like, I made the decision. I'm not changing it. I'm not just gonna say, oh, I'm wrong.
Oh, of course, 100%. You know, the Premier League games are, you know, seen by millions of people around the world. No one, even in the amateur games, in your own work of, you know, whatever you do, you never want to admit that you're wrong. You never want to admit that you've made a mistake, you know. So that there is a lot of that as well, 100%. Yeah.
Well, it's also, I suppose, you know, if they do get it wrong or something like that, they have VAR there as that out, isn't it? It's like, you know, it's like it wasn't me, ma'am, it was the older brother type of thing. You know what I mean? So they don't have to, like, you know, they have that to use as a card to wave. So
Exactly.
um so in terms of, let's move on then, I suppose, from refereeing, and let's talk. There's a lot of beautiful silverware there you're surrounded by.
That's it.
Um
Yeah.
so
You weird for a United fan.
It
yeah,
is
so
where it's all I'm holding on to. It's all my hopes and dreams right here in this
tell you, man.
table.
Yeah, but tell us a little bit then about the trophy hire company, Hogan Elite Trophy Hire, there on Facebook. Tell us how it got started, how you got into it, kind of how it works, some of the charity stuff you've done. I had mentioned to people that a lot of it is charity based, and you do fantastic work with it and stuff like that, and also some interesting stuff like weddings and stuff like that. And also, give us a rundown on the business there and everything else.
Yeah, basically, a good few years ago, I was kind of online looking at stuff. Like, I love all my retro jerseys and this, that, and the other. And there was a guy online doing the Sam for hire, the Sam McGuire. And then I kind of looked into it, and I was looking around, and there was one guy kind of up the north doing something with a Premier League trophy in the World Cup. And I thought to myself, there's a gap in the market down here to do it, you know, especially with the connections I have with the local teams and stuff like that. So my first purchase was the Premier League trophy, and I just got that out. I started going around the local clubs, kind of fun days, end of season deals, stuff like that. And for the first while, I didn't have the Facebook page. It was just all word of mouth, you know yourself. And I was doing, you know, for Esker Celtic, there was one of their players was diagnosed with a cancer, and they were having a fun day. So I brought the trophies over, put them on the table, and just put a bucket on the table, and we raised like 350 quid on the day just to kind of get towards the cause. And
Brilliant.
with all that, you know, it's been great. We've done stuff with the Sean Cox Fund and stuff, and there's Eddie Stars, who's involved with the Navan Reds, the Liverpool fan club, got the trophies up there for a fun day. Same thing. I think they raised a good few hundred, about 700 or 800 on the day, like just for pictures with the trophies and stuff alone. But yeah, it's been amazing. It's been great. There's a few guys that have kind of jumped on the bandwagon since and all, but yeah, I've got to meet loads of kind of, you know, legends and former players and stuff. I ended up on the Gargle with Gary Pallister one night in the Lucan Spa Hotel through and stuff like that, you know, and
Nice.
met Brian McClare, Dennis Irwin, Arthur Albison, you know, Sammy McElroy, load of players, you know. So yeah, I've just seen a niche in the market, and it's great because I love seeing people's reactions when they see the trophy, you know, because my wife Yvonne, and she didn't get it, she doesn't get it, you know, that type of way. Like one of the first gigs we done was the Premier League trophy was at a kid's birthday party, one of our neighbours. And he was saying all the dads were pushing the kids out of the way to get a picture with the trophy and all that type of way. So, yeah, no, it's great. It's great. And like I said, I just love seeing people's reactions when they see the trophies, you know.
It's amazing. The kids are blown away by them because, like, they actually feel like they're getting the whole, you know, the actual trophy as opposed to a replica of the trophy, stuff like that. But the trophies look fantastic. They're absolutely amazing in person. And yeah, it's just the kids they walk in and it's like a shock and awe. They go, oh my God, that's the Premiership trophy and all, you know. And I know they probably go and go, here, mister, is that the real Premiership trophy? Is it? And all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know?
it is.
Right,
And
like, you know?
it's funny, last year, I think it was no, it was 2019. Sorry, I did. This woman booked it for her husband as a surprise for the wedding, and I went to pick it up that evening, and he came out to me and he says, "Don't say it to her, but that was the best part of the day. His own wedding day, like, you know." I was like, "Oh, happy days." So,
yeah,
but no, it is great.
I seen some of the videos on the page. They're absolutely brilliant. Now, I have to say,
thankful for lockdown, are you, that you haven't had to see any of your kids doing the Hendo Shuffle with the Premier League trophy yet?
Oh no, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like the last year has just been with all this madness that's going on around us. It's been tough to kind of do stuff. I haven't really done anything in a while, you know. But hopefully, when all this kind of goes down, we'll get back out on the road again.
yeah, the fear with the kids doing it is that one of them might drop one of the trophies or something like that and break it or danger or something like that. So tell us, what trophies have you got available now?
With the Premier League trophy, Champions League trophy, World Cup. I'm hoping to get the Europa Cup soon. The Super Cup, the World Club Cup as well. So I'm hoping to add to my bow soon enough. But you know, just doing it now. There's a good friend of mine, actually, Brendan, down the Midlands, doing it now as well. Midlands trophy hire. So he's busy. If I'm double booked, I'll always pass it on to him then as well, you know.
Excellent, brilliant, yeah. Sounds great. Like and again, it's another way of staying involved in football, isn't it? If you're not playing, like it's just like the refereeing. It's another thing, but it's still football based, if you like. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
so where does everyone find you if they want to? Obviously, during these times they won't be hiring, but if they want to hire or they want to set up something for a wedding, where can they catch you?
I have a Facebook page, Hogan Elite Trophy Hire on Facebook. Go on, give it a like, and have a look at the pictures and stuff like that. And after, like I said, after all the madness dies down a bit, if you ring up and want to hire a trophy, just mention the Upper Tier podcast, and we'll look after you then as well. You know.
Brilliant, excellent. Yeah, and we'll give it a plug on all our platforms as well after the show and everything. So then I suppose moving on from that, then we should have like a quick chat about Man United. Obviously, if this had been 4 or 5 weeks ago, it might be Ollie out or something like that. Who knows? But I'm sure now at the moment it's probably Ollie in.
Just about, yeah.
Well,
here we go, lads. There's the plug.
Nice. Fair play, Peter. Fair play.
So tell us how do you feel? One, I suppose we should talk Solskjaer. How you feeling about him as a fan?
It's kind of frustrating at the moment because, you know, the kind of performances have been inconsistent. You know, they say the table doesn't lie. In a way it does, because I know we're up there, but the performances some of the times hasn't been great at all, you know. Is Ollie the man for the job? What's he there, two seasons or so now? It's tough. You know, you feel for him at times because there's a lot of players there, and the likes of Pogba that, you know, don't really want to know, you know, that type of way. He's a lot to deal with there, so you kind of have to take that on board as well. But there's other situations like we were talking about the other day, the Van de Beek situation. I don't know what's going on there, man. You know, it's a weird,
very strange.
It's bad when a player's agent that isn't Mino Raiola is telling them, if you don't play this next game, pack your bags.
Yeah, and like I said, with Pogba's agent, Pogba's, you know, any transfer window, he's saying, he wants to leave. Van de Beek wants to play, and yet he's kept on the bench. You know, it's a weird situation.
I think the problem with Pogba playing is really the Adidas influence, isn't it? In terms of the sponsorship and stuff like that, is what drives that. Yeah. And the problem with him as well, it really does. You know, it really does take away from Ollie, really, in terms of having that pressure on him from a sponsor's point of view, really don't wanting to go out and do what he does. But the Van de Beek one is a weird one because, like, he was recommended and brought in by Van der Sar through Ajax, wasn't it? So, like, it's kind of, it's a very strange one with the links with the clubs there that, like, I assumed when he came in, he was just going to slot straight in there and he was going to be playing most of the games.
For the money,
so it's a very strange one. So it'd be interesting to see how Van der Sar thinks about it as well, because it's like he sort of, you know, he parachuted him in there and said, see ya, and just left him to swing, really, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you can understand the frustration of the agent as well, you know?
100%, like 100%. And you look at Van de Beek when he came in, like, he was sitting on the bench, and Juan Mata was starting games ahead of him against Everton and stuff like that. And no offense to Juan Mata, he's probably coming to the kind of twilight years of his career. And Van de Beek, who had such an amazing season last year with Ajax coming in and just warming the bench, you know, it just doesn't seem right.
And also when he's come in, he's done okay. It's not like he's come in and done bad, you know what I mean? He's come in and he's performed when he's come in, you know, but he just can't seem to hold it down.
Look, I remember I had a few United fans coming at me arguing with me because one of them shared an article with me saying Van de Beek says he feels at home at Man United, and I just kind of responded to him, "You must have grew up in a house full of benches."
It's very hard when you see those pictures of him in the stand. He's practically sitting there on his own, like, you know what I mean? And I know they're all separated and stuff like that, but like he's sitting there like he's nearly a groundsman or a fan or something like that. You know, he doesn't feel. It's like he doesn't feel he's a part of it. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah, like, and in fairness, you'll see now tomorrow against Watford, if he doesn't start, there'll be more rumblings there as well, you know, because I think he'll rest the likes of Fernandez and stuff like that. You might see the likes of even Lingard getting a game, or say Gallum will play, but if Van de Beek doesn't start, I think there's something very, very wrong there, you know.
Yeah. Like, you'd have to rest Fernandez. Like we were talking about it yesterday, Mark. Fernandez looked absolutely wrecked against City, and you're gonna want him fresh for the Liverpool game.
Yeah, well, when you look at it, he's been carrying us for a year now. You know, he needs to be rested. He brought him off with 3 or 4 minutes to go the other night and stuff like that. And you're looking at it going, he needs a rest, like so. And like you said, the Burnley game on Tuesday is massive for us. So I can't see him playing at all on Saturday, which will be a good thing for us in the long run, you know.
What I did notice in the City game though was he wasn't happy coming off at all, even with only 3 minutes to go. And I also noticed as well, did you notice in that game, when he's doing his interviews, he always talks about it being a team and, you know, it's not about individual, you know, monthly awards or anything like that. But he was quite greedy the other night on the ball, was he? He was taking shots from everywhere, like, and he wasn't playing lads in or moving with the pattern of play. And he seemed to be banging the ball from anywhere, trying to get that wonder goal. And, you know,
well, if Rashford and Martial were playing the way they were the other night, I wouldn't be playing them in either. I'd be taking shots from everywhere in the pitch, to be honest with you.
Well, apparently,
I'm quite jealous that he was being bleeding greedy. We gave out being greedy 2 years ago, and now the prick won't bleed and stop passing the ball. He won't take a shot.
He won't shoot, yeah. So it's kind of opposites attract, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I heard a comparison made the other day there, Mark. You'll love this one. I want to get your thoughts on it. They were comparing Bruno Fernandes with the King, Eric Cantona. And I you need to give me your comment on that. I knew this was one I had to throw out there.
I'd call him the Prince, not the King. You can't be called the King just yet. What Cantona done for us was just unbelievable. You know, you can't compare what Fernandes has done in a year to what Cantona done over the few years for us in the early to mid 90s. You know, he changed us into a title-winning team. You know, that's why obviously Sir Alex had a lot to play in that, but it was a shrewd bit of business for him getting Cantona from Leeds that time. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely, but yeah, an interesting comparison.
Yep. Yeah.
So tell us what's your thoughts for the season? How would you see it panning out?
Well, I think we need to get a centre half in. I think the whole Maguire situation with Lindelof isn't working really. Boye is too injury prone. I love to see him play. You know, get a good amount of games under his belt, but he just hasn't been able to deal with the injuries. To me, I think we need to get a centre half in. Like I said, sort the Pogba situation now, because the longer he's there, the more it just becomes a circus in terms of everything, especially with his agent behind him. And there's a lot of dead wood still at the club. The likes of Lingard, Jones, they have to go. It's great to see Greenwood getting a push over the last season and a half or so. So it'd be nice to see. I know, you know, stuff happened off the pitch that, you know, he's only a young lad, but I'd like to see him now progress and see where he can go. But yeah, I just think, can we win the league this year? I think anyone can win the league this year, not just us. Look at Southampton. Southampton have got a run of games. You know, if you win 2 games, you jump up 6 or 7 places in the table this year. You know, it's such a strange year. Obviously, Liverpool, you are still staying strong, even with the injuries that you have. Do City have the strength and depth to go up all season? Who knows, you know?
Very good. Any other questions, Peter?
No, I think we answered them all. Any other questions would just be digs at United, and fans aren't liking that anymore. So
well, we put it out there on our social media platforms, and we asked a few people to send us in a few questions, Mark, here to put you on the spot. You know,
oh no way.
Nothing too chaotic, but we had a Manchester lad on from onto us, Morris, who asked us your favorite United player ever.
Of all time. Jesus. Do you know what? I started going over to Old Trafford in the early 90s, and back then it's all changed out. But back then, you always knew the starting 11: Schmeichel, Parker, Pallister, Bruce, Irwin. You know, you'd have them all. But I think everyone says Roy Keane. I used to love watching Dennis Irwin play, man. He could play right full, left full. He used to take unbelievable free kicks. You know, he was a proper defender. He knew how to defend, and he knew how to get forward and cross as well. So yeah, I'd say he'd be definitely one of him and Paul Scholes. I used to love watching Paul Scholes. I think he was probably one of the greatest midfielders of his time. Probably went under the radar slightly in England with Gerrard and Lampard at the time, you know. But I say Irwin and Scholes would be definitely my top two players, you know.
Interesting. Good choices. We had Josh on from London. The amount of red cards you've handed out in a single game.
In a game, I had 2 red cards in one game. It was an incident off the ball, believe it or not. And the team, one of the players that instigated the fight, the team were winning like 7-2 in a cup game, and there was a few minutes to go, and there was a bit of argy-bargy, so sent the 2 of them off. There's been other games as well where I had to send 2 coaches off for shouting at each other over the pitch. You know yourself now when you're standing on the sideline in Greystones or whatever. But the 2 lads were shouting across the pitch at each other, and I just the ball went out. I think it was for a corner, a goal kick, and I went over to 2 lads and I said, "Get out here! I don't want to listen to you anymore." You know.
It's mad, isn't it, that people don't realise the intensity of coaches and parents at like Saturday and Sunday league football. And like, it's only taking part. There's really nothing on the line in reality. You know what I mean? Because it's, you know, that was an interesting question. Because a guy Joe from Mayo sent in: have you ever sent off a coach or a parent at a game?
Yeah, plenty of times. Like there's you know,
Niall, wasn't it?
It was Niall. Yeah, he still hasn't paid his fine either. But no, I've sent parents off. Like, if someone's giving me abuse, what I usually do and go over, I try break the ice and say, listen, if I want to be abused on a Saturday morning, I stay home, listen to me missus for the morning. Do you know what I mean? If you kind of get a laugh and a smile, you've kind of broken the ice a bit. But there are times I go over and say, listen, if you don't shut your mouth, 2 things will happen. You'll go or I'll go. And without me, there's no game. So have a think about that, you know? But you can obviously, you know, they're kids out there and they think their kid is the next Ronaldo or Messi, and they're passionate for 90 minutes, but there's no need for it, you know.
Yeah, our concerns always at the matches, really, from a parenting point of view as coaches, is sometimes the level of language that's used, and you know they are only kids, you know what I mean. So we've one final question, and I know what I would answer to this. It's Brent from Dublin. He said, your favourite ever United goal. I suppose you could break it down into League, Europe, and FA Cup.
But like one of my favourites is, I'll go back to the early 90s, was Bruce's header, his second header against Sheffield Wednesday in the last, which like brought on Fergie time, you know. If he hadn't scored that, we probably wouldn't have won the league, and it probably wouldn't have brought on the amount of success that we had then, you know. That's probably one of my favourites. There's so many. Remember Cantona's goal against Sunderland. Remember watching Beckham's goal against Wimbledon over in Torremolinos in a pub over there when I was only a nipper. Obviously in Europe we have Solskjaer's winner, which, you know, I still have goosebumps anytime I'm watching. I know Virgin Media were showing replays of it. I still get goosebumps when I see that goal, you know. Yeah,
I was watching a goal show yesterday actually on Sky Sports Prem, and they showed Beckham's goal from the halfway line against Wimbledon, was it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And you see the keeper pedaling back. Unbelievable goal. And look, he eyeballed it and everything. There was nothing fluky about it.
Yeah. I remember talking to Brian McClare about it, because Brian McClare actually played the pass to him. I said, what were you thinking? And he said, I was out of breath. I just wanted to get rid of the ball. McClare said, so he passed it on to Beckham, and then Beckham obviously said, I think it was Neil O'Sullivan was in goal for Wimbledon at the time. He seen him off the line, and obviously since then a few people have tried it, like Uriel May, Xavi Alonso has scored a few from that area as well. But it was just unbelievable for the time. It was the opening day of the season as well. That game was.
Yeah, I've never forgiven United for that Cantona goal in the cup.
Yeah,
against the Spice Boys in the white suits.
It was a epoxy game to watch. That was the only thing out of it that you could take from it, because there was all this build up, and then it was just such an anticlimactic game. Like, it was unbelievable.
It just evolved into one of those games that was just going to be a stupid moment of madness out of nowhere, wasn't it? Really, like,
big time, like. But obviously there's loads of other goals I can think of. I was in the Stretford End for Wayne Rooney's debut against Fenerbahce. I was actually there when he scored. Remember the volley against Newcastle, where he was shouting at the referee, and obviously his overhead kick against City then. But like I said, that Bruce goal, it always just kind of Pallister, because I asked Pallister about it as well, and Pallister was correct. He put in the cross, it took a deflection. Bruce just got in there with his head. I think it was the 96th minute or something like that. Like I said, if that hadn't gone in, who knows what might have happened, you know?
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad to think the way those kind of moments nearly changed the whole pattern of history, really, of a club. You know, that kind of way. Like, you can single it back to those one moments, stuff like that. Any other questions, Peter, or anything you want to finish with, or anything like that? Or?
I think he's covered them all. I think my favourite United goal would have been Eric Boy's OG against us a couple of years back. I think that was good technique, good quality there.
That's when he played last. He got injured after that.
And because we have a ref on, sure, any of those good vintage red cards on Torres, you know what I mean? So, like,
amazing.
They always jump back to mind and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful talking about all the stuff. And like we said, we plugged the trophy hire business, stuff like that. No doubt we'll have you back on again talking about Man United. But I suppose for me, Niall, the coach, for Peter from the Superior Comic Show and the Upper Tier, and for Mark Hogan, thanks a million for having us on. Brilliant.
Cheers, lads. Thanks a million, lads. Thanks for having me on. Take care.